Sounded like something
Uh,
you weren't very proud of.
well, it's probably okay. Okay, we're good.
We're good.
Yeah,
I'm good. How are you?
good.
Well, guess what, man? I'm still recovering. Like, well, not say I'm gonna say I'm not recovering, but I got the mighty COVID, Tim.
I heard that. I was sad to hear that you had COVID.
Yeah. Well, it sucked for
And
a while, and I got better, but I'm still kind of not all better. Sometimes if I talk a lot, I'll get a little wheezy. So that might happen here. And I know a lot of people are pretty happy that I can't talk as much as I normally can. A lot of them live with me. I got it. I got over it and we're getting better. But I had lots of time to think about life and watch movies. What have you been up to?
mostly work. And then I did have most of a week off in a row. So I just kind of sat there and watched movies and things as well. If you work every day for, like a month, that seems to be all you can make yourself do is just sit there for a few days.
Isn't it nice though?
It is. I saved up all my time off. Other people use it, here and there. And I used it all in one shot. So I guess that's okay too.
Yeah, it's nice when you can do it. I always enjoy when I can just have that big block of time off and just do jack shit. And by that, I mean watch movies. So what'd you watch?
Now you're asking hard questions.
Oh, you just had a real mental mind wipe, didn't you?
Oh yeah, totally. Well, let's circle back around to that.
Oh, we
To go
will.
into I'd have to go into my Netflix history to tell you. Oh, I guess I watched quite a bit of Legion.
Oh, you said you were rewatching
So,
Legion.
yeah. So I'm into the third season now. I mean, it's not a huge series, but I'd watch, a couple of those a day. I watched a couple episodes of Rick and Morty. Didn't get too far into that. Stuff like that. Just whatever science fiction popped up, I watched. I keep trying to get into certain shows and not making it, doesn't stick. When Netflix, where you go in there and it says continue watching, you drop in there and give it another try, and you're like, no, not yet.
I've got one on there that's sitting in there right now called Maniac. And it was good. I liked it, but I can't bring myself to watch the last couple of them. And I don't think that I was really paying a huge amount of attention when I was watching the first parts. It seemed like something that you got to really dive in, and maybe there was a whole bunch of chaos happening in my house. I can't quite remember, but for whatever reason, that one's just been sitting in my continue watching bin for quite some time.
I was watching Archive 81. I don't know if you've seen that or at all or not.
No, I haven't. What's that one?
That one is a guy who's going through an archive of old VHS tapes, and he's recovering them because they were in a fire. And it turns out that there's all kinds of weird otherworldly stuff going on in this apartment building that the fire happened in. And then there's like interdimensional / cross time gateways opening. And yeah, it's pretty involved. I've been trying to finish that since it came out, and I'm not making a lot of good progress on it. It's just not dragging me in, if you know what I mean.
That happens.
I
Well,
like the concept.
yeah, it sounds pretty cool. Like it's got all the things I know you like. Portal fiction,
Yeah.
sci-fi. Is it hard sci-fi?
I would say it's more supernatural,
Oh,
probably.
okay. So leaning more into the whole demons and goblins and shit. I shouldn't
Yeah,
say
I think
shit.
so. It seems like it's heading that way. Yeah, there
Oh
is a
yeah.
cult involved. So
Oh, I like cults. Like not in
yeah,
real life, but I like when they're used in movies.
yeah, it's kind of promising, but at the same time, not.
Yeah, it's one of those passive watches. Do you
Yeah,
you text when you're watching it?
this one I could play video games I was watching, except for then you miss the jump scares.
Oh, you like the jump scares?
They're okay once in a while.
Yeah, I like the jump scares too. They're a good time. Well, you were on the vacation there. I think the biggest thing that happened was we finally did it, man. We with a little elbow grease from you, we put our book out.
Yeah, it just kind of finally came together one day, and there it is.
As
I
things
just
do.
just had to knuckle down and get that last little bit of heart of silly little bullshit done.
One of the things looking back on the whole thing, we had a really fun time, I think, just writing it and sharing our stories with each other, which was cool. Into the post-production phase, we both kind of divvied up kind of different jobs. I had some cartoons to draw, and you kind of did the whole editing and putting the whole thing together. So it was a good team effort, I think.
Yeah, I think it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, we didn't
I'm
fight at
happy
all.
with it. Well, why would you?
Yeah, that's collaboration, man.
Especially on
Usually,
a comedy project, if you were fighting, I don't know, that would be counterproductive.
oh yeah, I have heard of some pretty good rows on comedy product productions before, but thankfully not on ours. And it was just kind of a lighthearted exercise. It was fun, and I'm really happy with the final product. And it's out there now for people to buy. A spinoff from our podcast. It's called
Cautionary tales.
Cautionary Tales. We love it. And it's full of good working everybody stories. Some of them are gross out. Some of them are oddly themed. Some of them are just stuff that maybe we've overheard, but they're all funny. And we think you should all read them or not. Do what you
No,
want.
you should all read them.
Yeah, you should all read them. I'm too passive. Read this. Read the stories. Read them. So we have kind of some loose plans based around that. I don't know if you really want to get into that because we haven't finalized anything yet, I think, for the physical copy launch. So right now we've got an ebook version of it. And
Probably by the end of the weekend, the physical book will also be available on Amazon.
yeah, so the physical book, I know there's a lot of tactile people like me out there who just want to get their hands on something and read it, in the physical real world, which I like. And if you do too, that's great. And we're going to print some of those copies off for ourselves and maybe see if we can do some signings or a charity function. But we haven't really decided on what that is yet or what it looks like. We kind of have, but we just don't have anything concrete laid out. So I think when we do, we'll kind of get into that a bit more. But we've got some fun things planned for that, or we think we do.
I'm sure we're going to come up with something unexpected.
Yeah, whatever it may be. It might be a pancake breakfast. It might be a publicity stunt like that guy who sat in a lawn chair and flew up on a bunch of balloons, like up. We won't do that.
Did somebody actually do that?
Yeah, I think there's a guy in Calgary. He got in a lawn chair and just started filling up helium balloons. And then he had I think he had a BB gun. When he wanted to come down, he just started shooting the balloons or something.
Really?
Yeah, it was nuts. He got in lots of trouble for it, I think, because they might have had to rescue him. I got to look that up. Maybe I'm out of my mind, but he did the whole up stunt where he floated up in a lawn chair. It was great.
When I was probably 16, 17, I thought of doing that.
Oh, really?
I wanted to do it, but I had no way to get a bottle of helium.
That's hard to come by, that stuff.
Yeah, well, especially for a broke 17-year-old, it's just about impossible.
Oh, when you're 17.
Without crime, right?
Yeah. When I was 17, if I could find enough change to get a package of ramen noodles from the convenience store, I was the happiest guy ever.
I was busy, scraping together money to get a big case of beer.
Oh, a case of beer.
So
I don't know why I never did that. Like, well, I did, I guess, when I was like, maybe when I was 17, I did, but I'd always just like, bum money off the parents or something like that. And then I'd find a boot and the boot would go someone's older brother or sister. Mm-hmm. They'd go and boot, which was great. But I never really, if I scrounged up change, it was always to like get something shitty to eat at the convenience store. I sucked at being a teenager. I did it all wrong. You don't get do-overs. So,
well, I don't think teenagers do the same stuff anymore.
Well, mine don't. They go to
different
parties.
World.
Yeah, it totally looks different. They go to parties, but mine don't sneak around like I used to. Like if I was going to a party or something like that, I'd tell my friend or my parents that I was going to hang out at my buddy's house, which I was, and then I'd go out and just get smashed, and then I'd come home and they'd be mad that I got smashed. But my kids don't do that. If they want to go to a party, they tell me they're going to a party and I drive them, and then they text me when they want to be picked up and I pick them up. It's weird.
We did the same thing with my kids.
Well, it's a lot more responsible because you know where they are and you know who they're hanging out with, and you know what the atmosphere is like when you drive them there. So you're like, oh, okay, there's like 3 cars here. It's a little one. Or you get to one and there's like 60 cars there, and you know it's going to be a shit show. And then you can kind of adjust from there. It's all, it's just different. It's good but different.
Yeah. None of this saying that you're just going skating and leaving out the part about how there's going to be a lot of vodka and orange juice at the skating rink.
No, no, or none of the stories where you're going over to one guy's house, and then when your parents phone over there because something happened in your family looking for you, they can't find you, and then that
Yeah.
guy's parents start looking for you, and then you're over at a third party's house, and you're all drinking malt liquor, 40 ounce malt liquors, and sleeping in someone's freezer. That never happened.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
But at that time, you also didn't have Find My iPhone, so
No.
a little different.
Yeah.
It was just like when you couldn't see your kids, it was like they had vanished entirely.
Yeah. Isn't it nuts? They kind of like tell on themselves just
Yeah.
by having their phones. They're like, oh, I'm just going to tell on myself here. I'm going to let you know everywhere I go. Okay, cool.
What are those little
Bye.
tracking chips that Apple sells these days? You could sew those into your kids' clothes and they wouldn't even know the difference.
No, that's creepy. It
But
creeps
it
me
would
out.
work.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I didn't give anybody any ideas there.
No, I was going to put those on some other stuff like, bikes, other stuff. I've had a few bikes stolen, which sucks. And, it'd be nice if you could find out where they are.
It would be. We've had various items stolen like that.
Bikes are the worst one because you get emotionally attached. I get emotionally attached to my bikes. And I've had like 3 bikes in my life. I had a BMX, I had a Blue Mountain bike, and then I had this most recent bike that was stolen. It was a mountain bike also, but it was green. It wasn't blue. And I like all 3 of these bikes. I remember them. Like I just, this is like 40 years of bicycles, right? So now I'm telling you about these bicycles, and I can remember every single one of them. And not all of them were stolen, but the most recent one was, and it just hurt, man. It hurt. It hurt worse than crashing them. It hurt worse than growing out of them.
Well, maybe you should get your revenge. Maybe you should get a bike, put one of those chips on it, and then just strategically locate it in the back of your truck or something like that, and drive downtown and wait. And then you can track them down to their lair afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it won't be the same people, but
Well, around these parts, that's a good way of getting yourself killed. Well, in talking about the book, we went off the rails already, Tim.
oh yeah,
We're out of practice. But
we were
that's
supposed to
okay.
be talking about the book. You're right.
Yeah. We were supposed to be talking about the book. So have you got any feedback from it? Has anyone that you've recommended to, have they read it?
I haven't gotten any feedback on the book yet. Lots of feedback on the stories. Everybody's really happy with the stories.
Yeah. I've gotten lots of feedback, positive feedback about the individual stories too. I don't know about you, but I've been working on I've got like 2 in the salvo here to do some new ones for a sequel. And I was thinking that maybe I might just type them up here over the weekend and see if we could put them up early on the Substack if they got some grind to them.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm sure once we get the paper book, we're going to get more feedback because there's people who have requested copies that haven't even read any of the stories yet. So they want a signed copy though.
Yeah, I've got a few
I don't
requests
know.
like that too.
So we'll just have to virtually sign for each other, I guess, right? That's something that doesn't usually come up.
Oh, getting signed copies?
Yeah. So at this point, obviously, I can sign a copy where I'm at. We're never in the same location for anybody that doesn't know.
No, we aren't. Rarely.
We're always. So unless I mail them to you, you sign them and then you mail them back. That's not going to happen.
Well, that'd be.
I guess I'm going to have to get a rubber stamp.
Oh, I can get you a rubber stamp. I have one that I sign checks with.
But anyway, yeah. So I think the physical copy of the book, it's a big deal to everybody. So even people that don't know it yet.
Are you going to buy yourself a physical copy of our book?
Probably buy several, and then I'll give them away.
That's what I'm going to do too. It just seems like a fun thing to do.
Isn't that what everybody who writes a book does?
Well, yeah. That's like you see an author on TV, more famous ones, and they've always got like 19 copies of their cool science fiction book or fantasy romance book. And you're like, wow, you really like your own book. You have all those copies of it, but that's what they're doing. They just have them. And when people come over that they like, instead of giving them a cigar or a drink or something unhealthy, they're like, here, have my book.
Yeah.
Now, I'm hoping that it doesn't wind up like my screenplay, Tim. And I've sent out about a dozen copies of my screenplay, and I think three people that I know have gotten copies have read it. You're one of them, so you're all right. Have I bitched about this before?
No.
I found out last year that the what is it? I don't even know. I'm going to say six most terrifying words in English are, "Hey, will you read my screenplay?" Terrifies people. They won't do it. They run away. I'm hoping that if we do get copies for people, they give us some feedback. The one thing I really like is getting the feedback, and that's what's been cool about the Substack. People kind of, being that it's the internet, people are a little bit more apt to engage with us, right?
Yeah.
So if you have subscribed to our Substack and you're reading the stuff off there, I have a feeling that it'd be a good idea to just kind of keep that going and keep plugging away for it. And then when we have enough on there, we could do a volume 2 or whatever and just kind of collect them all together into a book. That'd be a good way of just kind of keeping going.
I think it's going to work out that way.
Yeah.
Once people read the stories and see what kind of stuff we're looking for. Because if you just say, hey, did anything funny happen at work? Everybody's like mentally blocked. But if
Yeah.
they read about some of the other things, they're like, oh, that counts?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when they see what we've written down here, there's going to be a whole bunch of tradesmen throughout
Yeah.
the world going, oh my God, I got stories like this.
Yeah.
And that's what we want. I'm hoping that it grosses a few people out, and touches their hearts too.
It touches their heart in a gross way. At least a
Yeah,
couple of them will.
I think so. Yeah, I go for the gross out ones. That's my thing. When I was a kid, I always used to sit at the dinner table, and my dad would get mad at me because I'd start talking about something gross, and I get in trouble, and I get sent away from the table, and I wouldn't. That's why I was skinny when I was younger, because I didn't get to finish all my suppers. I just talked about gross stuff. So I'm drawn to those like a magnet. That's it. So we had some fun times. We had Phyllis help us out with our cover, which we're happy with.
Yeah.
We're pretty happy with that. I've put my neck on the line for the next volume. I'm going to draw or paint or something. Our next one, hopefully, get a little bit more of a personal touch to it.
I think we've got to go with the construction animals, though, for sure.
Oh yeah, I think we're going to pick a different one for every occasion. I don't know how many of these we'll have in us, but there's certainly, when I sit down and I think about it, there's certainly no shortage of stories from the past. And wouldn't you know, I just had someone give me another one, a real humdinger yesterday. I laughed about it all afternoon after I read it. So I won't spoil it on the podcast. I'm just going to write it down, and everyone just have to see it. I'm thinking of doing that sooner rather than later. But so the other thing that we were thinking about talking about on the podcast, Tim, not to change the subject, but I'm changing the subject, was spinoffs. So I was thinking that the book Cautionary Tales is a spinoff from our Unreliable Narrator podcast. And I got, the same time that I had this thought, you and I were chatting a little bit before the podcast here, I was watching TV and I saw that they're doing this new Batman movies coming out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And before this movie's even coming out, I think the buzz for it is so huge. And I saw a news story about it that they're doing a Penguin movie that's spinning off from the Batman. So they're giving Colin Farrell his own Penguin movie that kind of shows the rise of the Penguin as a crime lord in Gotham City or whatever. And then I saw a trailer for Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. I saw that they're doing a Lord of the Rings TV show. They've got a Black Adam movie with Dwayne Johnson coming out. That's a spinoff from Shazam, which is a spinoff from the DC universe movies. And we've got all the Marvel stuff. And I was like, holy Nikes. They're really leaning into this spinoff thing. So we've talked about sequels, prequels, remakes, reboots, but we haven't talked about spinoffs.
Well, spinoffs are even they're more common than anything, aren't they? Because it's basically building on something from previous. It's expanding the universe sideways.
It is.
Star Wars is trying to spin stuff off here quite a bit lately, for instance. Every single thing that they do right now is a spin-off from the original 3 movies.
So we've talked about the other kind of stuff, the prequels, the sequels, the reboots and remakes. What do you think of spinoffs? Have you seen some good ones? Have they held up as far as you think? Or
Well, as long as they're not a prequel, then a spin-off is a good thing. I'm still not in favor of prequels, even if they're a really good spin-off. I don't know. I don't see the point. I mean, I guess with the Star Wars universe, they're pulling it off somehow, but it's still not going anywhere, right? Whereas a spin-off, like for instance, if you have the Bionic Man and then you make the Bionic Woman, you're telling a new story. You're just using the same plot devices, right?
Yeah.
Like you've already got the world built. You have, in that particular case, you have bionics and you have a government spending tons of money on resurrecting people who have been in accidents. So you're not really, breaking new ground, but you have new opportunities to have a new storyline. Isn't that the thing with spin-offs, is that you take some existing property and then you use it to make new stories?
Yeah, I think, well, when I first caught on to this, when I first had the thought, wow, there's a lot of spin-offs out there, I kind of got my back up for a bit. And then I kind of thought about it for a second. And when I realized this, I realized that I was kind of in the middle of watching a spin-off, and that a lot of things that I liked were spin-offs. And then I kind of did a little bit more research and digging around on the old interweb there. And I found that there's a whole bunch of the spin-off thing has been going a long, long, long time. And there have been some really good spin-offs and some kind of shit spin-offs and everything in between. But there was a bunch of examples I found that are kind of kitschy, kind of fun. Some of them are kind of classics. And there's a few that I'm watching right now that I'd consider spin-offs, or that I've watched recently that are considered spin-offs that I really like. And I figure we could maybe talk about some fun ones. I made a little short list. Do you want to hear it?
I'd love to hear your spin-off list.
Okay. So someone once told me when I was a kid, I don't know if you watched Dukes of Hazzard.
Some of it.
Some of it, like, everyone had a little bit of Dukes of Hazzard knowledge. Well, they made a spinoff of Dukes of Hazzard. Did you know about this?
I didn't know about that.
It was called Enos, not Anus, Enos.
As in the sheriff.
Yeah, as in the dopey.
Or no, he was a
likable-
deputy, was he?
Yeah, that's right. Deputy Enos. He was the likable guy. There was Roscoe and Boss Hog, and then there was Enos, who was always kind of like on the good guy side. He was like the likable guy or whatever. And he had a show where he went off and he became like an LA detective or whatever.
Really?
Yeah. And at the end of every episode, he would. I've never seen this show, to be honest with you. I was just looking up a list. Someone had told me about this a long time ago, and it just popped back into my head. So I looked it all up. And at the end of every episode, he'd write a letter to Daisy Duke, telling him all about his crazy hijinks in LA. Yeah. Yeah, send pictures.
Interesting.
So that's one. That's one that I put on the back burner. So when I was looking up this show, there was a lot of people. This was in the early 80s, this show that this spinoff happened, like really early 80s, 81 or 80 or something like that. And I think Michelle Pfeiffer got her start on that show. One of her first roles was on that. There was a whole bunch of people on there. She's the one I remember the most. Did you watch Frasier?
I watched Frasier. Not a lot of it, some of it. Mainly because you couldn't avoid it. It was one of those things where it was always in your face.
It was everywhere. Everyone was watching that show. Did you watch Cheers?
Yes. And you're right. Frasier was on Cheers first, right?
That's right.
He was the stuffy guy that used to show up at the bar and everybody would make fun of him.
Yeah. And then he got his own show and everyone still made fun of him. Here's one that you're going to like, Tim, and maybe you'll remember it or you won't. The Lone Gunmen.
That I don't remember. The Lone Gunmen.
A spin-off from the X-Files.
Really?
Yeah. So there was the dorky dudes that used to do all the sciencey stuff for Mulder and Scully, and they called themselves the Lone Gunmen, and they were like the conspiracy theory guys that were down in the basement.
I remember them.
Yeah, they had their own show very briefly.
That must not have lasted very long.
I don't think so, but I remember a few people kind of liking it, and then it just kind of fizzled out. A book spinoff that I liked when I was a kid, the Huckleberry Finn, was a spinoff from Tom Sawyer, classic literature.
Yeah.
How about, now I know that the generation before us watched a lot of All in the Family, and that had a whole whack of spinoffs, but the one I remember the most was the Jeffersons. Did you watch the Jeffersons?
Yes, a lot more than the other show.
Yeah, I didn't. I never watched All in the Family. I'd only ever seen the Jeffersons. So when I was a kid, I never knew that it was from another show and that there were a whole bunch of other shows linked to it. Happy Days. Did you watch Happy Days?
Happy Days, I watched, some, yeah.
So apparently Happy Days was a spinoff of another show.
Hmm.
And then Happy Days had a spinoff, a couple spinoffs. There was
Yeah.
Joni Loves Chachi, and there was another one that spun off from Happy Days too. I can't remember what it was called.
Well, the main one that spun off from Happy Days, of course, was the career of a famous comedian, right? Why am
That
I drawing a
was
blank?
Mork and Mindy was a
Yeah,
spinoff from
Mork.
Happy Days.
Mork first appeared on Happy Days.
See,
His entire career was based on Happy Days
that was his big springboard, wasn't it, Robin
because he was
Williams?
an alien and he took on the Fonz. They had a cool off basically, and the Fonz lost. In the end, Mork took him captive and left the planet.
No,
That's what happened. It's an episode worth watching, probably.
that would have been cool if they followed that up on Star Trek and the Fonz turned up as like the Traveler or something like that. Took Wesley Crusher with him.
That would have been cool.
So I've been watching one. Oh, wait, I've got, before I get into the cool one here, I'm going to go back to this other one. So Star Wars has had a whole ream of cool and some not so cool spin-offs, and not all of them are recent. And a lot of people might not remember these, but there was two made for TV Ewok films.
Okay.
Do you remember those?
I vaguely remember hearing about it, but I never saw either one, unless you're talking about the cartoon, the Ewoks.
No, sir. I'm talking about two live action Ewok movies that were spun off just after Return of the Jedi. There was one called Caravan of Courage, and there was another called Battle for Endor.
Okay, Battle for Endor sounds familiar, but I never watched it.
I know that in one of them, Wilford Brimley was in it, and he was telling all those Ewoks about his diabetes. But I don't remember for the life of me. I remember seeing them when I was a kid and we watched them, but I don't remember what they're about or anything, and I haven't followed up with them. I'm curious to see. I was kind of thinking about these the other day and wondering if they're up on Disney Plus, and I just haven't checked. Do you like Aliens, Tim? The franchise Aliens?
Yes, I do.
Have you heard of a show that's out right now in its second season called Raised by Wolves?
I've seen Raised by Wolves, or I've seen most of the first season.
I think it's a spin-off of Alien.
It's got the same kind of feel to it, doesn't it?
Well, there's an extremely common theme in the show, which is, I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, but it's androids that bleed milk blood.
And not only that, but kind of suck.
They do kind of suck, and they're glitchy. Like they're just kind of like glitchy on their own.
They're not, let's just say the one on that show is not the girl next door that you want to meet.
Yeah, you'd think that at first, and then
things go astray.
Yeah, shit goes sideways right there.
That's always what happens with those androids on the Alien franchises.
There was a new episode came out tonight, and I'm like chomping at the bit to watch this because it's right now. It's when the first season came out, I finished it all up, and I was like, wow, this is my favorite show. And then I don't know if it's been a year or 2 years since that first season came out, but now I'm watching the second season, and I'm sitting there going, wow.
I think it's only been a year, and I don't think I'm probably almost made it to the end of season 1, and then we canceled our Crave subscription.
Oh no!
So I haven't finished watching it.
Oh, well, it had a weird ending, but the second season,
it felt like it was going sideways to me.
It kind of does. It kind of does, but you're not wrong. You're going to watch it. I don't want to spoil anything, but you're going to watch it and you'll probably be like, what did I just see? But they pick it up in the second season and run with it. And it kind of works.
No, they run even more sideways.
Not really sideways. It gets the second season's. I loved it so far. I think it's really cool, and they've got some good concepts. And they didn't lay anything down. It's not like it has like kind of a what the fuck moment like Lost would always leave you with, but they actually kind of follow it up quickly, and you figure out what is going on. It's not like a big drawn out shit show for forever that you're never gonna sort out. It's done pretty good, I think. Have you been watching the Star Wars spin-off that just came out? Did you see Book of Boba Fett?
I've watched one episode. I'm not sure if I'm happy watching it.
I could see that.
I watched it. I'm like, well, there's these other things I want to watch right now instead.
I could have been that guy too. I did finish watching it, but I understand your plight. Maybe when you finish it, we should. I won't. I don't think we should talk about it now because I thought you maybe
Okay.
had watched a lot of it, but I think after you've seen it, maybe we should jump in and do a little bullshit session on that.
See,
Because
now that one I could play video games while I'm watching it.
oh yeah, yeah. I get you. I get you.
I mean, it might be interesting to know what's in there, but not that interesting. And you sit there riveted with both eyes on the TV screen.
So it's kind of like
Afraid.
dissecting a frog.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what's in there. Okay, put that in the garbage.
Yeah. It isn't one of those things that I ever wanted to know anything about. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, oh shit, he died. Oh well, that's what I thought happened, right? Now we find out he lived. And I'm like, huh. And that's where I would have left it, you know.
Well, he's got the mystery character vibe, right? Like Wolverine, or what's another character that had the air of mystery around him the whole time? Well, we'll just go with Wolverine, I guess. And I think the whole thing that makes the character so great and fun to watch is that not having all those questions immediately answered about him, or not having them be the main part of the story, gives him a little bit of a mystique. Like with Boba Fett in the movies, you see him, you don't know anything about him. You know, he's a bounty hunter, and you just get to see what that all encompasses. And he's a badass in the movie. He teams up with Darth Vader. He gets Captain Solo carbon frozen and taken off to Jabba the Hutt. And he's sly about the whole thing. He figures out how to catch them when they're floating away with the garbage and all that. And then you see him kind of like die like a weenie in Return of the Jedi. And I think the character, like him just looking cool and doing some cool things in Empire Strikes Back, was enough to like just get people's imaginations racing about, you know, who this badass guy was. And there was some fan fiction, or not fan fiction, but some they call it legacy or legends books that came out in between Return of the Jedi and these new movies being made, the Disney acquisition, all that stuff. And some of the stories were pretty freaking cool. And a lot of them involved him getting out of the Sarlacc pit also. So I don't know. We'll get to the end of that show. And
but the bottom line is, because it's a prequel, he has no future.
It's not really a prequel. You know? It's a
it kind of is, because when is it taking place? It's definitely way before the last three movies.
It's before the last three movies, but see, the thing is too, is like it's in that window where the Mandalorian is. And I don't know if you've watched the 2 seasons of Mandalorian.
I watched the first season.
Yeah.
And where is it that the main forest dude shows up? Is that in the second season or the first season?
That's the second season.
Okay, so I've watched the end of that. But yet again, we know that there's no future because it's already been written.
Yeah, I think they handle
and that annoys me, you know. Unless they're making a new timeline here, I'm just not happy with prequels.
They're not really making a new timeline, but I think, like, don't get me wrong, I'm kind of lukewarm when it comes to the second season of The Mandalorian, and I'm also like, I was cool as a cucumber when I watched the first few episodes of Boba Fett, and then later into the show, you're going to find that it kind of picks up a little bit more. I certainly did. And then I kind of, after I watched it, I kind of had time to just kind of let it go over me and go, well, you know, okay, that was kind of fun. And I don't like, the thing about the Star Wars universe is that I find interesting is that, you know, you have the big legacy project, which is the episodes of 1, 2 to 9, right? And those are kind of like a self-contained thing, but, you know, you're dealing with a whole universe full of people here, and they could all have different stories at different times that nobody has told or dealt with. And you could tell all those stories at the same time and have a good time with those, have nothing spoiled for you, have nothing, not retread on any old ground. It's just set during that time. And you could allow a character to have a complete story arc if you let go of the main mothership of the saga movies, I guess. And they kind of are gun shy about doing that, but I'm hoping that they get to that point.
Probably I'll watch it.
Oh,
it's on my to-do list. So
my big thing, and I think I mentioned this before, is it seems like they have all these like big projects planned out down the road. And they've got these really capable directors, but I think what they're doing is just kind of like letting these people cut their teeth on these shows because they know that people are going to watch them. And it gives these new directors or these people who are good directors that haven't really done effects movies a chance to kind of play in that playground and play in that sandbox and get to know all the toys that they get to use, right? And how to use them. So there's lots of fudgy moments that are kind of clunky, but when something clicks, it really clicks. There's always something worth watching. It's not high art, and it's not even the best Star Wars that I've ever seen, but it's just nice to have. I'm never going to say no to new Star Wars shit. I'm never going to say that, but it's nice to have. One day it'll be good, I think, but this is getting there. You'll see when you watch it.
It's funny how Star Wars keeps kicking out stuff that, we're going to watch no matter what. I'm also a Star Trek fan, and they've been making things, and they lost my interest.
Oh, that one lost mine too. They went too far away from, I think.
They just vanished right off the scale of normality.
What did it for you? Was it Picard?
Picard felt forced, and it's that other show. I can't remember what it's even called right now. The first season was okay.
What's it
And
called?
the second season was iffy. And then they went to the far, far future and just like totally trashed everything that they had.
Oh no.
And I watched the first episode of I think it's the third season. And I'm like, well, I'm done with this for now. Need to come back to the ground here.
Discovery?
They just went too far from the original source material to me. Like it's not even the same universe now. Just some new thing.
Well, I don't have much of a frame of reference for that show, but I did watch. I was late night in bed. I was watching TV, and that show. I picked that off the streaming box or whatever, and I watched a little bit of the first one. And every time they make a new Star Trek show, I notice that the Klingons get more and more and more steroids.
Yeah,
like they were unrecognizable.
Well, if you watch the latest series or the latest season, you probably don't even have to worry about that because I'm pretty sure that in the far, far future, everything's entirely different and they don't even probably have Klingons. So,
oh no,
or if they do, it doesn't matter.
I watched the whole season of Picard because I got sucked in by the trailers. Mm-hmm. And he opens the drawer and he's got what was Data's brother's name in there, or he had all those parts. What was it?
Yeah, Lore.
Yeah, he had all that in there. And I remember seeing Nemesis in the theater where he Data before he gets sucked out of the ship or whatever. He downloads all his good brain into his brother, his evil brother there. And I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. And so when that show came on, I watched it and I was not prepared for what I saw. I was not prepared for it. I've never been I have a respect for Star Trek, a deep respect for Star Trek, but I wouldn't consider myself to be a Trekker or a Trekkie or whatever the nomenclature would be. And but I do remember the feeling that I got in, I think it was 1987 when I watched the first episode of Next Generation on TV live as it aired. And I'll tell you one thing I didn't see was I saw phasers. I saw their photon torpedoes. Is that what they're called?
Mm-hmm.
But the Enterprise did not have F-bombs. There were no F-bombs. And it was kind of like an optimistic, hopeful message. Like no one was getting strapped down to a table and having their eyeballs scooped out of their heads while they screamed. Like, holy shit, man. That was a rough watch.
It was. You're talking about
Picard, yeah.
Yeah, season 1. Because they will have season 2 if they don't already have it.
I know they're doing a season 2. And just what a limp, non-committal ending that show had. Like just waffled. It waffled it.
And they didn't, I don't know. So sometimes when things have jumped the shark and actors come back to them, they have a hard time forcing it, right? And that's how I felt the character of Picard was done. It was like, I'm back here. I'm here. I don't know if you know what I mean.
Hello, good to see you again, number one.
Yeah, it just wasn't. It was more like a reunion. Some of it. and less like a show that I wanted to watch.
Let's sit down at the table and drink some cheddar cheese.
Yeah.
I meant wine. But we'll drink the cheese too.
Yeah. That's right.
I don't know.
Love some cheese with their wine. Yeah.
Good Lord. Where's 10 forward? Yeah, I don't know. There's a spinoff. I know they're making a fourth movie with the Chris Pine of the Chris Pine Star Trek. I guess you want to call it that, or the J.J. Abrams Star Trek.
Yeah, that's an entirely different universe. Going back to the 10 forward thing for a second, I watched one episode of that and I was like, this is the most boring cartoon I've ever seen in my life. So I will never watch that again.
Oh, that's the cartoon one?
Yeah, it's just not, as a Star Trek fan, I don't give a shit about that cartoon.
Well, Picard told me everything I need to know. I watched it, and about at the halfway point, I was just watching it to make sure it was over. I was like, okay, I'm going to watch this just to make sure that it's all over. And then I got to the end, and I'm like, oh shit, it's not over. And now they're doing another one. But there's a guy attached to that show. His name is I think Akiva Goldsman. And every time I watch one of his, I think he was a screenwriter. 20 some years ago, he was like a big screenwriter. He wrote like Batman Forever and A Beautiful Mind, I think he wrote. And every time I watch one of his movies, I'm like, well, that's a decent movie, but just the story was out there. Like, so every time I see his name pop up, I just kind of like shrink away in horror because I've always associated it with like Nipples on the Batsuit. And I found like this just weird, clunky stories, right? And every time his name pops up, I'm like, oh, Jesus, what's he going to do? And it's always something weird. And I think he's the showrunner on Picard, or he was, and they just like totally tone deaf. I just found it, I don't know, man. Like, if there's one thing that you want to look at right now that's going to be hopeful and optimistic, which
Nipples
I think
on the Batsuit.
Yeah, Nipples on the Batsuit. Like, I guess you could be optimistic about that if you're a big nipple fetishist. Maybe, I don't know, but I think that was more Joel Schumacher. I don't know. What'd you think of the Nipples on the Batsuit? I should ask you. Maybe you like that, and I'm just shitting on it here.
Well, let me just ask this question: do we put nipples on our regular shirts?
Well, now,
no. No. The whole point of wearing things over top of your nipples is to cover them up.
Well, you're right. But now I know what my next custom t-shirt's going to be.
And no, it's going to be a hit. It's going to be a hit.
Oh, geez. You're right. It is strange to see a guy wearing a piece of clothing or armor. And it's just like, hey, yeah, I just decided that this needed nipples. But
yeah, it's a very unexplainable choice and could only result from doing drugs while designing costumes.
Oh, I'm sure there was a lot of, what was everyone doing in the 90s? It had to be something really cool.
Yeah.
Not cool, but just potent. They must have been doing some potent shit.
Yeah.
Is
that, did you hit the end of your list there?
That's more or less the end of my list. I got to that Game of Thrones thing. I wanted to talk about Boba Fett with you, but I thought you'd seen it. So now we have to put that one in the bank and go to it next time.
Well, maybe I'll slowly work on it this week. Okay, so let's go sideways to the spin-off in the real world from a TV show.
Okay, I want to hear this.
Okay, so now picture it. 1980, whatever, we had the series V. So in the series V, when all the people involved were little children, right? There was aliens that came to Earth and they appeared to be humans, but they were wearing fake skin. And they were really lizards who ate rats and humans, right?
That's right.
Now, these little children grow up. And as they grow up, they forget about the show V. But then they start thinking that the entire world is ruled by reptilian aliens. And they spin off into a fringe group of people that believes that those aliens are still in control today.
Yes.
That's a spin-off.
You're talking about David Icke.
Yeah. And various other people. And there's so many people that believe in the reptilian aliens. And it's a direct spin-off of them having watched V when they were children.
But what if, now I don't want to play devil's advocate here, but I'm gonna. Now, what if they made the show V to get the idea of reptilian aliens into the absurdity into the realm of absurdity, so that when someone eventually exposed the real reptilian aliens, and I'm not saying that there are real reptilian aliens, but when someone blew that whistle, everyone would go, "We've seen V, dude. We know it's not real. It's a psyop." What happens if
Well,
that's the case?
well, if that was their intention, it failed because it's convinced all these people that there is reptilian aliens.
Yeah, it is kind of a crazy one. That's the one show I would think was about 5 years old when that came out, and I thought it was really cool. But
That idea from that show is lodged in all these people's brains, and they can't get rid of it for their entire lives. They're
no,
convinced.
they've been V-steamed.
Yeah. They've spun off into this fringe group, much like, flat earthers.
I wonder if there's any other examples like that out there where it's like V, where there was just something so specific that it just lined up perfectly with this other thing that was out there before.
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to see lots of trucker spin-offs.
Oh man, we've done this already, haven't we? Like there's been I just downloaded this. There was this Clint Eastwood movie called The Gauntlet that I've been meaning to watch for. Have you seen that?
No.
Where he's like got to drive a bus through, he's like a cop or something, and he's got this lady with him who's like a witness to a murder or something like that. He's got to drive her across town in this bus, and meanwhile all these criminals are trying to kill her, and he's got to like armor up this bus or whatever and get through this just horde of dirty bastards that are all trying to kill this lady or whatever. Now, I've got that one spooled up and ready to watch. That's on my back burner list of movies. And then I've got this other one called The Sorcerer.
Okay.
And they actually remade The Sorcerer for an episode of Mandalorian, where the premise of The Sorcerer is there's like these old soldiers or mercenaries or whatever, and they're down somewhere in South America or whatever, and they take this job driving this truck full of like old dynamite from one place to the other while these like guerrilla fighters are trying to shoot them or whatever. And all this old dynamite is like leaking nitroglycerin. So if they drive the truck too hard, it's going to like explode and take them both out with them.
Mm.
Apparently it's really good. They based that one episode of Mandalorian where they drove the truck into the Imperial thing full of like weird explosives and it was going to blow up.
Yeah, I recall that episode.
That was a fun one. That was a good one.
I liked it. It was one of the better.
So maybe I'm hoping if there's any trucker spinoffs, it'll be cool shit like that. And there won't be any bouncy castles or saunas in them. Or maybe they could work that in a clever way.
Yeah, maybe.
Or they could make or it would be a show that just was like 5 hours long. And by the time it was over, you were just really happy that it was all done.
What was that movie where a truck driver ends up in Little China? There's sword fights.
Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, Big Trouble in Little China.
I've got the Blu-ray for that. I've been meaning to watch it.
That was a good time. I mean, not all trucker movies are a disaster.
The first 5 minutes of that movie are some of the most quotable insanity from that Kurt Russell character. He's just such a jackass. He says some of the coolest stuff in that movie. I love that movie. I love it. I might have to watch that this weekend now. You've earwormed me with it. Damn you. Yeah, we could get some crazy spinoffs. But until we do, we've got it seems to be the new thing in town, or the new focus is spinoffs. So,
well, I'm all for spinoffs. If we can somehow make spinoffs take the place of prequels, I'll be super happy.
I agree. I think
Like,
there's new
prequels
stuff
can just suck it.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done with prequels. And I'll tell you what I haven't seen a lot of recently is reboots or remakes. And those those days are gone, and I love it. I'm really happy to not have.
Oh, you're gonna have to. We'll have to endure at least one more.
Which one?
For sure. Fantastic Four, because they're gonna reboot that.
Yeah.
There's no way around it because the first two were so terrible.
Yeah, the first three.
Yeah.
I did like the one with the Silver Surfer. There, like that one has stuff that I like. There's like parts of that movie that I dig. And
until they changed Galactus into a cloud.
The Galactus cloud can beat it. That's no good. That was the main sin for that. And then just Doctor Doom, like the whole handling of Doctor Doom was just poop. And they pooped it out in the third one, Fanforstic, as everyone calls it. Fan Four Stick. Yeah. Did you see that one?
Yeah, they went to the negative zone when they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
It just didn't make any sense.
Reed Richards driving around South America with his rubber face.
It didn't. There was no point to it.
There was a couple cool scenes with the Thing, though.
Yeah, but it just in general, when you have source material and you have fans, you shouldn't just go, screw this material. We're just going to do something new, entirely different, and insult everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make changes, but you shouldn't make all-encompassing changes that make no sense just
No.
because you're making changes.
Well, the thing that you're putting on the screen has to resemble what everyone likes in the first place, I think, especially when it's coming to adapting a property. There are pretty serious examples of this. We got enough material here for a second show. We could just keep
Oh, yeah.
talking.
Like the first Fantastic Four actually did more or less match what it was supposed to,
Yeah.
except for Doctor Doom.
Except for Doctor Doom. They just got that one thing.
He just was not supposed to be, I don't know. He didn't have these magical abilities from being bombarded with particles.
No. I think they did redo his origin and powers and everything like that in a different version of the comic books called the Fantastic Four Unlimited or something like that. There was like Spider-Man Unlimited and Fantastic Four Unlimited, and they had kind of more of a realistic, grounded, gritty feel to them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a different version of all the characters that people were doing that. They were quite popular for some time in the early 2000s. I want to say, was it on? I know the one was called Spider-Man Unlimited, but I can't remember what the Fantastic Four. I have some of them. They're pretty cool. That's where the Sam Jackson, Nick Fury came from. Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Fantastic
Nick
Four.
Fury is an old character.
Yeah.
He was in the Doctor Strange comics, etc.
Yes.
But just the idea of making Doctor Doom somebody that went to college with him is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like ridiculous.
When you see a movie and everything is just like perfectly connected into itself, it just kind of makes it a little bit ridiculous and hard to believe. Like, you can't believe that this dude would just exist out there and he'd be enamored with the powers that they came back to Earth with, and he wouldn't. That's too far fetched. You have to have him be in the spaceship with him. Get out of here.
Like, he's supposed to live in Latveria.
Yeah.
To start with, he's not supposed to be in college with them.
No, he's like a dictator or something.
Yeah. A beloved dictator.
Yeah. But a dictator nonetheless.
Much like the reptilian aliens. Our beloved dictators.
Well, I just thought of another spinoff. When you mentioned Doctor Doom, well, I don't think it's another spinoff, but a riff on an idea. There was in the Dark Tower, there was the wolves of the Kala, and they were those metallic wolves that were Doctor Doom ripoffs.
Right.
Remember that?
Yeah. See, now everything that Stephen King does is a spinoff.
Well, he even spins himself off. And
yeah,
I don't mean that in a dirty sense, but or maybe he does. I don't know. I don't know what his personal habits
probably does. I mean,
yeah,
that's his business.
That's his business. But he even writes a mirror universe version of himself
in more than one book, in more than one capacity.
Yeah. Did you watch that Stan TV show that was just out?
Yes.
I didn't
find it that bad.
I was offended by it deeply. Their heart was in the right place, I think, but I think they just made a couple of weird, clunky technical errors that were just too much for me to get over. The whole story was all there. Like, I liked the way that they laid the whole story out, and all the people that were there were supposed to be there, and where it started and where it ended was more or less the way that it happened in the book. But I had a couple issues with it. But one of the things that I was getting at with the Mirror Universe Stephen King is the guy who plays Harold in that story. Holy shit. He was like a Stephen King spitting image.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I really like is that usually when he writes a story, there'll be like that surrogate character that's pretty much him. Like, there's always a writer guy or something like that, or there's a character that's at least kind of somewhere in his headspace of wherever he was at the time when he wrote that book. And Harold is that character, and he's a complete sack of shit.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a weird take for, like, he was probably writing this character or whatever, just going, I'm just going to write the worst version of myself I could think of. And I just found that really interesting. And that was the most interesting part of that TV series for me, was the Harold character, and just how he kind of just captured everything that I remember reading in that book. He was the best part of it for me. But yeah,
Harold had so many chances to be a good guy,
he did. Yeah, he did.
but he just turned his back on that.
He did. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't, I didn't mind it, but I was like, when you, for people who have read that story or whatever, it's such a gut puncher that I just kind of found it like all the edges were dulled off on it. And there was just kind of, I don't know if it was like limited for budget and stuff. They spent some money on some pretty big set piece scenes, like the escaping from New York and having all the streets dead in New York and all that stuff, and all the big Las Vegas stuff. But it was just kind of like little things that I remember. Did you watch the old miniseries from the mid early 90s there?
Yeah. I just feel like without Gary Sinise, it's just not right.
Well, he was a little bit more likable in that role. And that's
Yeah.
not to say that James Marsden isn't a likable guy. I like that guy. But Gary Sinise was just a little bit more of an everyman, I think. He's not leading man handsome or whatever. He was just more believable to be just this average Joe Schmo kind of
Yeah,
dude.
he's a guy. Yeah.
And
I've never failed to like something that Gary Sinise was in.
no, he's always been pretty cool. But the other thing that I liked about that old TV series too is that the world was there. Like when people were walking around in between Las Vegas and Colorado, or New York and Colorado, or wherever they were going, there were panic vehicles on the roads, and the roads were clogged up with stuff, right? And that's
Yep.
the whole reason that Harold and Nadine were driving on motorcycles out of Maine, was that they could get the motorcycles and they could go in between all the cars, and they could ride on the
Yep.
on the shoulders of the road and go down in the ditches and stuff like that if they had to. But when you're watching the show, the new show, they're just fucking ripping down empty highways. There's nobody on them. Nobody freaked out, nobody panicked, everyone stayed exactly where they were, and nobody's on the roads. It just didn't jive with me, right? Like, and then the main kicker for me was when have we talked about this? I feel like I think I've ranted to a couple people.
You ranted
about
a
this
little
one.
bit about it, but I don't think you went into specifics because I hadn't seen it.
Yeah, I think that was more or less the kicker for me. And the other one too is the villain. Like when they introduced the villain, Randall Flagg. This is like Stephen King's Darth Vader. He's a spin-off character himself that goes in and out of all these other things. And this is kind of like the first big moment where you get to see him. And instead of taking a little bit of liberties with the TV show, they give him kind of like the exact same intro that he gets in the book, where he just kind of walks in. But in the book, when he walks in, you get like a little backstory about what a horrible guy he is. So he could put that stuff right in your head without having to show you something. But in the show, you don't get the luxury of that. So this guy just comes in and does some stuff, and then he's in the back seat of this car, like winking like he's an evil guy or something like this in the rear. Oh, look at me, there's someone sick back here and I'm winking at you. And that was like the big evil moment you got from him. It wasn't really,
Yeah.
They took all the edge right off that guy. And I thought if they would have just not been as faithful to the book and gave us something, a horrible moment of that guy so that we could really be scared of him, then it would kind of pay off in the end a bit more. But these are my gripes. I had a little bit higher hopes for it. So I don't know. The Stand.
So now there's the Lord of the Rings spin-off / prequel.
Are you a big Lord of the Rings guy?
Well, I've read the books several times, but mainly because when I was younger, there wasn't a lot to do on the farm. So,
Yeah. Yep.
And I have read the Silmarillion, which is what this is based upon, of course.
Oh, is it?
It's the driest book in the universe.
I've tried and I failed.
And I don't know how I've managed to make it through. Just because in the middle of winter on a farm when you're 14, and your dad's got control of the TV, there's not a lot going on. So I have a feeling, like watching the preview, that it's a little too much like The Hobbit for me. The movie The Hobbit. Well, actually, part 1 of The Hobbit was okay. Part 2 was ridiculous.
I enjoyed part 1. Yeah.
Part 2 was like, what are you doing? And that's how I feel this is going to be. So they're trying to spin off from the Lord of the Rings movies, and there's going to be a lot of fans, but I already feel like I'm not on board.
There's a lot riding on this one. Like, I think they blew shit piles of money on this series. Like, there's no tomorrow. They went all out. So,
Well, they went all out on the Wheel of Time, and they were rolling along pretty good until the last episode of season one.
oh
And
no.
then they're like, what are you doing? They totally went sideways and threw away the source material, killed people that shouldn't have died. Like, it didn't make any sense. They've gone far astray from the source material. Now, we already know that they're going to do the same thing with Lord of the Rings, because just from the preview, you can tell that they've shrank the time scale like massively by thousands of years. So I, I can't see how it's going to work out.
Is Peter Jackson involved in this one?
I don't know, but if he is, that's the problem.
I don't know. I have a feeling that he's not, because, or if he is, it's in a very loose, hands off, arm's length kind of way. Because I think I remember when they were developing The Hobbit, he didn't really want to do all the three movies, but there was a studio insistence that he did. And I don't think he wanted to direct him. He had originally gotten Guillermo del Toro was going to do the Hobbit movies, and Peter Jackson was just going to produce them. But I think there was a lot of pushback from Warner Brothers or whoever the studio. Yeah, Warner Brothers. It was they did those ones, and they made him do like the trilogy and stretch things out. And I don't think he had a really good time of that. But he got after that he did this Beatles thing, which I really really enjoyed. We watched it right around Christmas time, and I thought it was a freaking masterpiece. So
Which thing is that?
he did it's kind of a documentary. It's really long. There's 3 episodes. It's on Disney Plus, and it's called Get Back, and it's just raw footage of the Beatles when they're recording their last studio album. And he's gone back and taken the film, scanned it in high class scanner, scanned it all in, cleaned it all up, got the dialogue, and just kind of edited it all together so that it kind of is a cohesive story that kind of captures the personalities of them all and stuff. And I don't know, each episode is like 3 hours long, and if you're a Beatles fan, it's riveting. If you're not a Beatles fan, you might not be, or if you don't know a Beatles fan, you might not find it as riveting as I did. But I loved it. I thought it was a friggin' work of genius. It was great. So I know he's done that, and I really like that. I haven't seen his World War One movie, but I've been meaning to. Yeah, I don't know. If his name's not in this in a fundamental way, I think I might skip it.
I'm not sure, but you might have to skip it anyway.
I was secretly, things kind of go like this now. I've been burned so many times that unless I hear that there's like just stroke of genius behind a show, I'm gonna just like cautiously maybe dip my toe in and see. But I'm not like in a big rush to just go out and go full hog on anything right now. There's not a whole lot that
Well,
I
you seem
really
like the kind of guy that might want to watch Legion if you haven't already.
I might give it a try. There's so many people who I respect who have told me that Fringe is a great show, and I've got them all ready to go and watch them. I just haven't quite pulled the trigger on it yet. And
Fringe is definitely a good show.
Yeah, but
And Legion.
yeah. So there are
The
two.
one thing is, Legion is what you would call experimental film. There's some very unusual artistic scenes
Oh yeah. Okay.
involving music and the 70s. Like, I don't know, what more can I say? Psychedelic, man.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I like that stuff. Love it.
And Fringe is just an entirely unique story with psychedelic drugs involved. There's a
Well,
trend here, isn't there?
yeah, the psychedelia. It's a fun realm to explore, I guess, in movies. I just watched 2001, so that's a
Well,
fairly
there you go.
psychedelic show.
If you like that, then you'll like Legion.
Oh, there we go. I might have to give it a shot. Well, Tim,
I think we've spun off enough things now.
we have spun off, and now I think I'm going to. It's late at night, and I'm going to have my spin off and go to sleep.
Me too.
You've got to get up a lot earlier than me.
Unfortunately, 4:30 comes early.
Oh, I hurt for you. My heart bleeds. My heart bleeds for you.
But to make it a little better, 4:30 in BC is only 5:30 in Alberta.
That still sucks. That still sucks.
Okay. Well, let's call it a night then.
All right. Well, you stay safe out there. And
Yeah.
as always, it's been a slice.
Yeah, it's been a slice.
The night was dry, yet it was raining. The streets were wet, but the night was as bright as the earrings at Margaret Donner's ears. My God, I'm going out of my mind! Fuck it! The night was humid. That's it, and that's all. Oh.